Hi, welcome to today's webinar on everyday mentoring. I'm Susie Owens, Deputy Director at MENTOR Nebraska, and I'm here today with two really great guests. We're going to have some awesome conversation. Melissa Westbrook, who's our Associate Director of Member Engagement and Learning. Melissa, want to say hello or do a wave?
Hey, y'all. Happy you're here.
Excellent. And also we have Safari Onyx, who is our intern for training and capacity building support.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for tuning in with us.
Excellent. Well, today's going to be a really great conversation. I'm looking forward to it. This is in celebration of January, which is National Mentoring Month. We're doing something new here today. We usually do our trainings in a more training format, maybe in the evening or over the lunch hour. Today, we're going to have just a really cool conversation amongst ourselves about everyday mentoring and how we all can tap into the power of mentoring just through everyday small actions. So before we get started, please stick around to the end if you're able to and catch that QR code, as that will allow us to get feedback on how you all feel about this format. Maybe it's something we should do again. So be looking out for the QR code on the screen or in the chat so that you can give us feedback on today's event. Also, throughout this training webinar, you're going to have opportunities to give us feedback in the chat. So we want to hear from you. So please be reacting throughout the conversation to the things that we're talking about, what resonates with you, who's been an impactful person in your life or a mentor or someone who's shown up for you, or how do you think that you're embodying everyday mentoring. So we'll be active in the chat as well and just following along and commenting back with you all. So please, yes, let's engage in the conversation. So
say heart, like what they say, subscribe below.
Yes.
Like, comment, subscribe below.
All of that. All of those things. Is that TikTok?
I don't know. I just know my 5-year-old says it because of YouTube. Like, subscribe below. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. But no, please like and subscribe below. No, heart it, comment. No, for real.
Yes.
We would love to hear from y'all.
For sure. So whether you're joining on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, please engage and interact both throughout and after the event. So any other housekeeping item, or we ready to jump in?
Let's jump right in.
Let's jump in. Okay.
Stay ready.
Well, let's talk about what everyday mentoring means. First, I'm going to read off the definition, but really we'll get into a conversation about what it means to us personally. But for the audience, everyday mentoring is about recognizing the moments in our daily lives where we can create meaningful connections with young people. It's not about formal programs or scheduled meetings. It's about being intentional in your everyday interactions and being present in those small everyday moments with a young person. So everyone can participate in everyday mentoring, which is why we thought this would be a great topic for National Mentoring Month. So whether you're the librarian, the crossing guard, a teacher, if you just engage with young people through sports or dance, as a coach, as just a person in their lives, then we think that you can participate in everyday mentoring. So I would love to hear from both of our guests on this topic. To what extent did you feel like you had someone who knew you well, who knew your hopes and dreams and lived experiences when you were growing up? Who are you thinking about? So let's start with you, Melissa. Who's someone that was an everyday mentor in your life?
Man. So when I think about an everyday mentor, I really think about like the trajectory of my life. You think about when you're young, obviously for me, I'm gonna say obviously, because maybe it's not obvious for everyone. My parents were a big factor in my everyday mentoring, the way they encouraged me, the way they validated my thoughts or, and gave me just appreciation and value, but also the people who are like family, folks that maybe I couldn't talk to the same way I could talk to my parents, and still gave me that structure and that support and that encouragement and maybe even sometimes constructive criticism in a way of things I wasn't seeing at 13, 14. And then as well as like professors, when I got to, I went to community college and I remember I had an adolescent psychology professor. Granted, she was also teaching like 4 other classes too, like, youth, like all in the family science and everything. But I remember she just took such an extra care to understand like where my passion was and like what interested me and why that might have interested me. And even when I chose to move to Omaha, she was like helping me like figure stuff out. And I just so appreciate she didn't have to do that. She didn't have to do that. And she chose to. And so when I think about these people who are just a part of my everyday life and how much they poured into me, it mattered so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that story. I love that. It sounds like she just went above and beyond her official title as a professor and got to know you and really see you.
You know, if you're watching, Paula Smith Cope, it's you, ma'am. It was you.
Oh, that's
She
so
still
nice.
follows me on Facebook, so
Maybe she'll see
it.
this.
She see it. I'm gonna send this to her. I'm gonna
Maybe
be
she's
like,
watching now.
tag. I'm talking about you, girl.
Excellent. I love it. Safari, I'd love to hear from you next. Who is someone who showed up for you in your life?
Yeah, so very similar to Melissa, I had a lot of people like boosting me up, seeing my academic excellence and, you know, complimenting those things. But it wasn't really until middle school that I had one teacher that really stuck out to me, Mr. K, 7th grade language arts teacher. And it was very difficult for a lot of us. We were transitioning from elementary into a new phase. And so that was a really big step. And I just could notice like students that were going through a lot, had a lot on their plate. He was very understanding. It was almost kind of like a friendship, but also having that teacher there to guide you, give you advice, and really show up as a big support. So when it came to the last day of school, he started crying and then the whole class started crying. I'd never seen a grown man cry like that.
Oh, wow.
So that was a really big moment in my life, seeing another male person that you could look up to break down like that, and then the whole class obviously felt the same way. So for me, that was really big. It really affected me in a positive way, and obviously I still carry that to this day. I always look up to him, and teachers like that really have a big place in my heart.
Okay.
You all still keep in contact at all?
No, sadly. I wonder if he's still teaching.
I hope he sees this some way. I hope he does.
Shout out to you, Mr. K.
I know, right? Mr.
now.
K, 7th grade language arts. This is for you.
I'm just realizing I'm probably not going to get through this without crying at least once. My eyes are already tearing just hearing those stories.
We gonna make it.
It's hard not to.
We gonna make it.
We gonna make it. One
For
way or
sure.
another, we gonna make it.
But I really love talking about everyday mentoring and hearing those stories, because you can tell just how people light up when they think about a moment where they felt supported by a person and really seen by a person. And that's what everyday mentoring is all about. It's just making sure that we say, like, we see you. We're being intentional with those relationships. And teachers, you both gave education examples. I think in workplace and community, these kind of interactions can happen when we're intentional. And so that's what I really love about how applicable this topic is.
Yeah.
We like to take a break and just hear from you all in the chat. Who's somebody who showed up for you? Drop a name. If you're still connected on social media, you can tag them or tell that story in the chat, a quick story. We would love to see that and lift that up. We're always looking for really cool mentoring stories to share, especially during National Mentoring Month. So please drop in the chat who showed up for you, who's been intentional in your life.
What y'all doing? No, I'm excited. I can't wait to read them.
Read and respond. We will be responding in the chat. So now that we understand a little bit more about everyday mentoring, let's transition into a mentoring mindset. So mentoring mindset, I love. This is a product from Mentor National that many of us across the affiliate network are trained in. And really it's just about that approach of being intentional and being a mentor, and how you can think more critically about that and how you're showing up. So we're going to go through the different components of a mentoring mindset. First, I'll read the definition again, but then we'll hop right back into more conversation. So a mentoring mindset is a way of thinking and interacting that places young people at the center of our work and allows mentors and other caring adults to be true partners in that young person's journey. So the 4 components that we talk about as being a part of a mentoring mindset are being intentional, being supportive, being developmental, and being communal. So in those stories that Melissa and Safari just shared, that was kind of that intentional piece, like someone who saw you in the moment and knew you and lifted up your lived experience and values. So
I love. I just want to pause for a second when you said that, someone who saw you in the moment. That could make you cry. Like that just those words itself elicit so much emotion just for hearing them. Because I feel like so often we go through, you guys seem like we just go through so much life
Yeah.
And I can't say like every person makes you feel seen. Even every caring adult, bless their heart, doesn't make you feel seen. So when you think about someone who like took the time to pause and see you, it gives me goosebumps, like seriously, because it changes the trajectory of your whole life, even your day, but your whole life in a lot of senses. So I just, that when you said that, that just like hit me so big, like, yeah, no, for real. When someone sees you, it's amazing.
No, thank you for stopping so we can pause and take that in, because I think about, I was a really shy kid. Most people don't believe that, but I literally,
I can see it.
I would go I could go days in school without talking to anyone. And I don't think I felt seen for most of my childhood. So just thinking about like those small moments of people who like stop to say like, no, I see you. You might be quiet, or you might be in the back of the room, or, you know, you might not be running around with the other kids. Like I remember playing in the sandbox with my best friend because neither one of us like to talk. So we would just sit in the sandbox.
We would have been friends back then.
Like, we just gotta hang together. It's cool. We don't gotta do
like
anything.
doing all the monkey bars and all that. Like we're just chilling,
Keep it to
playing in
yourself.
the sand. Just
What a great friend. I love a friend like that.
No, for real. Shout out to her. So that was in second grade. So but I do remember those moments where people made me feel like it was okay to be in the spotlight. And not that I'm always comfortable with it, but I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without those people like intentionally saying like, I see you and it's okay. It's okay to be seen.
Wow. It's okay to be seen. That permission.
Yeah.
Whew, I'm gonna get stuck on these words, y'all. I'm gonna get stuck on these. Let me get back to the
That's
scripts.
only the first component.
I'm
We
just
got
like,
lots more to do.
can y'all imagine what a full training on this looks like? It's so deep.
No, it is
It's so
every
deep.
time. Every time that I've done this training, someone in the room has teared up because, again, just reflecting back and telling those stories. And whether you had a person in your life who made you feel seen or if you didn't, this training resonates because, again, both of those elicits a strong emotions, being seen, but also feeling unseen. And a lot of those stories come out. And so always we have to kind of open up this training with like, hey, this is a safe space. Like there's probably going to be like a lot of vulnerability shown. And we probably should say the same for this audience. There's probably be a lot of vulnerability shown as we have this discussion. And it might bring up feelings for you all who are even watching it, even if you aren't in a room full of other people, even if you're watching from the comfort of your own home. It might just bring up some stuff that you maybe haven't thought about when you go back to like that time in your life as a young person.
Go ahead.
I will say also, if you are that person that hasn't felt seen and it kind of chokes you up to talk about, or maybe you have had very limited times where you felt seen or heard, you can still show up for yourself, or you can still find people that will show up for you, you know, because that inner child that didn't get that is still within you. And I think that's why I love this training, because going back and reviewing those stories allows you to also heal parts of you that you may have not known. Wow, I didn't get support. Wow, no one showed up for me. And so I feel like even for the people who may feel left out at times, this is still space for you to hold space for that inner child and work on finding people that will lift you up, people that will give you that affirmation that you're seeking. So I just wanted to say that little tidbit.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think about how mentoring can be healing because you can show up for a young person in a way that you feel like maybe you weren't. And it kind of heals that part inside of you saying like, wow, this is what it feels like. And maybe I didn't experience it on the other side as a young person. But now that I'm giving that back, it still heals that little part of you inside that remembers that. So I think that's really wonderful.
Also, shameless plug with National Mentoring Month, there is a day focused about thanking your mentor. And I'm a big person on give people their flowers while they're here, whether it's you personally to give yourself flowers for what you've done. But if there's someone that you're just like, I would not be here without them, like send them a text, a message. If you're still in contact, obviously the life happens. But, you know, sometimes people just have no idea the impact they made on your life until that day where you say, hey, like, I just so appreciate everything you were to me. And that they're going to be, you know, like those messages, anytime I've ever received anything, even remotely close to someone sharing that, it's always so, it's just so humbling too. It just makes you really realize like how much every single interaction in your day, whether it's someone that you know and maybe are intentionally trying to support, or maybe someone you don't know and are trying to make sure you make people feel seen, but everything you do has a ripple effect and a reaction, right? And folks don't understand sometimes when they just made everything better for you and didn't even mean to. So
stopping to be grateful and share that gratitude.
yeah, if you can, for sure. It's always appreciated.
Definitely. Wow, this is going to be a great conversation.
We got off script, guys. Let's go back. What paper we are in that last
well, back to active listening. So we were just talking about what are some things that you can do to be supportive to a young person. And one of the things or the ways that you can be supportive is letting a young person know you have their back, which means you have to be able to listen to see like what is their lived experience, what they're going through. And so Safari, I think we have you up next talking about a story about active listening and how it made an impact on you.
Yeah. So actually, one of the first things that came to my mind was Mentor Nebraska, because I was kind of thinking over a lot of work experience that I've had. And since I started here, I had an interview with both of y'all. We sat down. Even that kind of was like the catalyst for, okay, this is such a different experience for me. I've never had where you feel like your colleagues care about you genuinely and they want you to do well. And, you know, you bring up, hey, this is what I want to do, or this is something that I have an interest in, and you guys actually showing your genuine interest in the things that I talk about and bring up is really big for me. And I really appreciate everyone at Mentor Nebraska, especially you guys. But for me, it was just like, I really feel like if I say something, I'm listened to from every single person on the team. When I had my one-on-ones, it was very like personable. Everybody gave me that full attention. They gave me that active listening. And I feel like I could just show up as myself and just get to know every single person at Mentor Nebraska for who they are. And so far, I don't have any complaints.
Shoot, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. No. Like,
no, but even if I did have a complaint, I feel like it would be a very genuine conversation. I feel like you guys would be receptive to
Absolutely.
anything that I'm bringing up. And, you know, we really are a team. And I love having a team where we can collaborate with each other and we don't take things, you know, if a person has a different opinion, we never take it the wrong way. So I really appreciate being in a workspace or a co-working space where everybody's included, everybody's opinion is valued, and we all matter at the end of the day.
Oh, wow. Thanks so much.
this was not a paid promotion.
This is my personal true feelings.
I know that when you say it, I can't help but be like,
it's like one of the first things that actually came to my mind when we were talking about this, because I was like, yeah, I can't think of any other workplace where it was like from the onboarding process to just the people to every single aspect has been amazing. So I really give y'all applause for that.
Wow, thank you. Safari, that means a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Okay.
We're gonna do our best to keep it up. You know, we're gonna do our best to keep it up.
Yeah.
No,
for
we
sure.
truly value your opinion. I mean, not just you. We value anyone's input, but you know, that was something that we even talked about when you came on, is that you were so good at just like sharing your thoughts and like, hey, this is what I see. And we just appreciated that so much because we needed that thought, that vision, that external perspective, the younger voice, all of it. That's what we really wanted. And so, you know, kudos to you too for your belief in yourself and confidence in your vision, because we needed that. And I'm glad you felt like empowered to share that with the world, including us. And I would encourage you to keep doing it shamelessly, like regardless of where you're at, because you have so much to provide and input to give, and it's important. So kudos to you too. I mean, it wasn't hard. Like, it's not like we had to work to listen to you. We were like, dang, let me write that down.
Yeah, but that is what happens when people are actually doing the work to, you know, make changes within the system and how they it starts with the individual. And so I definitely see that within everybody on the team, that they're doing the work actively to address some of these things that youth need right now. And that I feel like it's really coming together beautifully. And I just see the work in everybody's personal life too. So I applaud everybody here, even myself.
Yes, 100%. Shout out to you.
I love it. Oh my goodness.
And this is why it has felt so natural to have you on the team. Like the other day, I think you had to learn something new, and you're like, okay, I have to like catalog this and like only taking so many new things. I'm like, I have to pause and remember that you're newer. It feels like because you jumped in, and it feels like all of our personalities kind of. Like, you know, we're not afraid to give each other opinions or the group chat. Well, it's not a group chat, it's teams. But we treat it like a group chat sometimes, and the memes and just the reactions
Safari
and things
be
like
roasting
that.
us. Safari like we be roasting each other too, but Safari comes in with the hitter, and then we're all like, no, not it.
The next
just
level.
Like, it is. And I remember one time Susie's like, oh my gosh.
And I feel like that's making me think about how maybe a precursor to being supportive is safety.
Yeah.
It's trust.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't feel safe here, I'm supposing you wouldn't feel comfortable.
I'd be quiet. Quieter.
Quiet.
Probably. But even when you said that the other day, that really resonated a lot with me, because I was like, I do feel the same way. Like getting to know y'all, it's like, man, I feel like I've known y'all for a while, but it's only been so long.
Like
but
3 months.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Not long at all.
Yeah, but I mean, I love it because you always want to be on a team like that where you can just seamlessly fit in and the conversation just flows. You know, it's really nice to get to know people and actually, you know, feel like, okay, I'm actually getting to know the real you, not the representative. Like we can all show up.
Not the representative.
We all show up authentically, and that's one thing that you cannot fake. You cannot. It's just something that happens organically.
I felt that way too, though. I felt a lot of permission to be myself, and I haven't always felt that in other work environments. Or I was myself, and people were just like, "Oh, okay," you know. And I immediately realized, "Oh, you're not the people I can be myself with." Did it change a thing? Probably not, but I was just like, well.
Wow, that's interesting, because you feel like such an authentic person. Both of you feel like such authentic people to me. It's hard for me to imagine, like, and maybe because this is you feel safe here, like, imagine those times when you didn't feel
you
that.
withdraw. You just, like you said, you get quiet, or,
You
know.
hold back on saying things that you really want to say.
Or you are yourself, and instead of feeling celebrated and seen and appreciated and like safe, you go home and you feel like self-critical, or you feel I don't even know, drained a bit, because you had no one to, you know, embody those, like, you know, be there with you and enjoy that with you, because you felt like everyone just looked at you like you were nuts. And that's, you know, we'll talk a little later about like workplace mentoring, like we are right now too, but I think that has such a big impact. The people in your job, at the people who maybe are above you. I keep smacking this mic. I'm so sorry, everybody. You know, because we are such unique people, and we deserve to be celebrated and authentic. And, you know, I'm going to be what I'm going to be. And it's hard. Like friends, you can pick and choose, right? If they don't vibe with you, you can be like, cool, I'm probably not going to hang out with them anymore. But you can't do that with your job as much without like some major repercussions. So sometimes it's like, oh, I don't vibe with this. Well, dang. Now I gotta like adjust how I show up here. And then, you know, then you spend, I don't know how of your life not being an authentic representation of yourself. So it also, I think, made me more isolated. Like that's why I got so good at working independently, is because like the spaces that I was in, like the schools, the high schools, the places I was in, I could do that independently and be myself. And it wasn't until it came like more full circle where I was able to build my own team and then give that team the space to be who they were, to care about their well-being, to care about their mental health, to show up as themselves, that I finally felt safe, like I could have that, because I had to create it, you know? And that's kind of like why I got to that place of being able to be so hyper independent, because I was going to make the space for me, you know? So yeah. Just different experiences, but we're glad you feel that way, because you know that's the goal. That's what we are always working on.
Yes, thank you both. I'm really enjoying this.
It's the Susie smile for me. I was telling Safari earlier, I was like, one of my favorite qualities about Susie is she's giggly. Like Susie starts giggling, you can't help but giggle too. Like you just giggle too. You're like, oh, I'm gonna giggle because Susie's giggling, and then she giggles some more. And it's just a whole giggle fest,
because it really is genuinely filling my bucket. I really love this stuff. I really do love
My God.
the people part of what we do. And it's really just affirming to hear that what we're talking about when we do trainings, when we're trying to coach other organizations on embodying this stuff, is that like, it's just reaffirming to hear that you feel that way,
right?
In this space, in our internal space, and that our internal is matching our external. That's really important to me, that integrity of our organization. And we're such a small team. So I feel like if that wasn't the case, we would really feel it, because there's only, what, 6 or 7 of us.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you all do feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
And yeah, glad you're here.
Thank you again.
Excellent. Well, we'll get back into what we're supposed to be talking about, although all of this is related. I 100% believe that. The next part or component of mentoring mindset we want to talk about is developmental, which is that growth piece, is really being there and showing up for a young person as they're on that trajectory in their life, in their career, in their personal life. And so I would love to hear and start maybe from you, Melissa, about a time when you encountered a challenge or a goal and someone really helped you through that.
Man. You know, I think of a lot of times where I've had a challenge or goal, and one of the, I think, qualities in folks who mentored me that I appreciated so much was allowing me to fail forward without like being helpless, right? They allowed me the space and autonomy to navigate, to decide. Because, I mean, when you're young, like, you're going to listen, but do you really listen? You know, or like, are you really listening? You know, those times I'm like, sure. And I'm like, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. And they're like, cool. You know, because they knew like I was going to do it and come back and be like, so what had happened was it didn't work, you know, or this happened to me. And so I'm really appreciative for those who, when I did have a challenge, one, they let me feel forward into it, but then they also, I think, kept me in mind. So we're going to talk about this probably at the end more, but like, I so appreciate folks who could see where I was going even before I could see it. And they saw qualities in me that they knew 5, 6 years, 4 years, 3 years down the line, like was going to put me in places to be really elevated. And so they would push me to like, hey, make sure you're a part of this like research thing we're doing, or make sure I'm going to write you into this grant I'm doing, or we're doing a presentation at this conference. We have a poster. I'm going to put you on the poster with me. And at the time, you know, maybe I felt really inadequate or unqualified to be in that level. I might have been doing the work on the front lines of, you know, in the schools and doing those things, but on that higher, more academic level, or I did feel a little uncomfortable. But then fast forward 3-4 years, when you have an opportunity to write like a curriculum vitae or to get into faculty, and it asks you like, what research proposals have you been a part of, or what grants have you helped write? And when I first read it, I was like, oh my God, none. And then like I reached out to one of my mentors, and she has saved like a list of all the things she included me on. Wow. And it was already like formatted to go into. And I just remember feeling like, how did you know like I was going to need this? And she's like, well, it's also in mine, but like you have all these things your name is in that you can now put in your, and I'm like, you were building this for me without me even realizing you were building this for me. And so when I think about the challenges and stuff, I just think how people really kept giving me tools, you know, like, yep, that seems hard, but here's this tool. And then encouraging me to take the tool and use it. Not like, here's the solution, I'm going to fix it. Because mentors are not supposed to be saviors or fix it all. I'm not going to come in here and like give you all the solutions. And even then, it's not necessarily our job as a mentor to impart great wisdom constantly. You know, you're there to create a safe space of support. You're there to be a caring adult. And being a caring adult does not mean your mentee or the young person never feels uncomfortable. Not, I mean, like with a life situation. You know, you don't have to be like, oh, they're never going to have to run into something that's hard. No, they're going to. And your job is to create a safe space for them to navigate the difficulty. And I just appreciate people who did that. They never made me feel dumb for not knowing how to do it. They never made me feel dumb for, you know, needing extra support. But they also made sure I was able to apply that critical thinking and use the tools that they were giving me. And, you know, it did come down to a time where I was just like, I don't know what to do, you know. Obviously, like, you know, they're there. But I just really appreciated that level of just asking me my input, you know. What do you think?
Yeah.
Is something you'd want to do differently? And that, like, you know, you said Safari, that makes a big difference to feel like people really want to hear what you think. It changes how the space feels, because you're like, wow, my input is valued here. It's important. It's not just like, we'll do with this. I've always done it that way. So those are ways that I really just felt like when I approached a challenge, mentors just help. And they also helped me see things that I was doing that, like, girl, these
weren't
things,
going toward the goal.
these things don't live together very well. Like, you can't, like, you know, what would they say to children? Like, you can't have your listening ears off and then expect to get what you want. You know, and they're like, you know, you can't have this part off and then expect this part to happen. Or like the definition of insanity, repeating the same behavior and expecting a new result. They'd be like, so what are we changing? Like, what are we changing to see a different outcome? Because you're literally just repeating the same thing. And maybe at that time in my life, it was like partying too much, or maybe it was like something else I was doing. And I was like, why is this not working? And they're like, well, let's start with, you know. But I just
do an inventory.
Yeah, and that's a perfect way to put it. Like, let's take some inventory. What you know, what's taking up your time? What's going into your brain? What's going into your heart? Where are you finding peace? You know, and then start there. And then if you're finding these discrepancies or things that are contributing to the challenge, like, you're not resting. What was it in study skills? They talk about, like, you can either have like a full night's sleep, good grades, or a social life. You can only have two.
Yeah.
So pick which two you're gonna have, right? And so they'll be like, what are you choosing? What are you doing? And so yeah, that was just like a long version of essentially how I really appreciate. And to this day, even under, you know, you as my supervisor, I just appreciate that same level of autonomous, but also supportive. You know, like, hey, I believe you got the power to do it. I believe you know where the tools are. I'm going to show you where those tools are. But I also believe in your ability to take those tools and apply them and
100%.
create something, right? Not like, I'm going to fix this for you. Like Susie's favorite thing. Have you looked in SharePoint? See what have y'all used SharePoint on Facebook? Put something in the comment about how you feel about Microsoft SharePoint. I want to know. That's a whole nother world.
Navigating the OneDrive.
SharePoint, like, I saved it. You're like, okay, where? Okay.
Let's go.
What do you mean? But no, I appreciate you for continuing, because some of the greatest professional mentors I've had have embodied those qualities, and they've made me better. So I knew when I got to work for you, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna come out so much better. It's gonna be good.
Oh wow, thank you. That's very kind. It makes me think of the graphic, and the audience will pull up the graphics for you throughout the presentation, but the graphic on the developmental component is a circle with trees in it, and some are small, and I think there's a big one. And what you said in the beginning about that perspective and them seeing things further out than even you did, that's what it reminds me of. When you're a young person or younger in your career, you might just see those individual trees, but that mentor can come in with that other perspective that's a little more zoomed out. You know, they're seeing all the trees, and they're seeing like, what's that probably next step for you, and then they're helping you navigate that and navigate whatever challenges come up, but also helping you celebrate the 100%. Successes along the way. So 100%. Yeah. Excellent. Let's take another pause and make sure that people have a chance to drop in the chat who's someone who helped you grow along your journey. How did they help you, maybe as a young person, experience growth and step into that growth and make you feel like you were supported and could take it to the next level, whether it was in personal or education or career or whatever that may be? Absolutely. Excellent. Okay, our fourth component of the mentoring mindset is about being communal. Research tells us that systematic growing in equity manifests as gaps in opportunity networks and access to adult relationships outside of families. And I'm just going to repeat that because I feel like that is just so very true. Research tells us that systematic inequity manifests as gaps in opportunity. So we talk about at Mentor about how there aren't talent gaps. All young people have talents and geniuses inside of them, but what all young people don't have is opportunity to realize those talents and those geniuses. And so that is one thing that mentoring can do, is can help them access those opportunities, help them access networks, help them access adult relationships outside of family to help them on that trajectory of growth. And so we know mentoring is not going to solve every world issue, but we definitely believe that it can help young people better navigate the challenges that they're going to face and reach their full potential. And that caring relationships between between young people and adults is really powerful. And so let's talk about that being communal piece and just being all in together. And so I would love to hear more about expanding social networks of support for young people and how connecting them with peers or mentors or community resources can make an impact. So I'll pass it to you, Melissa.
Yeah. So recently I shared that 10 years ago was the first time I was asked to be a mentor by the youth themselves. And it was something that I think at the time I immediately felt like unqualified. Like, could I be what they need me to be? And they saw something in me that I didn't even think I was still trying to figure out life, right? So fast forward, through our time together, 10 years, and the other one's 8 years, and then we have a lot of young people we work with. I think about the ways that you see what they're really gifted in, you see what they're navigating. I think about writing recommendation letters. I think about job references. I have students that maybe worked with 8 years ago, and they had me for a semester, and they're like, Miss Melissa, can I still put you as a reference? Absolutely. And some folks might feel differently about that because, you don't know what that kid's doing right now. I'm going to advocate for them, because most young people I work with know, I'm going to stick my neck out for you, but it's on you to do what you need to do, right? So if I'm going to stick my neck out and put a reference down, do what you got to do. So I think that's really big, too, is that talking to them and understanding, who are other positive, caring adults that they can be around that can help them be successful. Like you said, a warm handoff, hey, I'm really proud of this person. I've brought one of my mentees, Carly. I brought her to work a few times, or I've talked about her a few times. She calls me all the time. Right now, I'll be like, yeah, Carly's amazing. Carly does this because
you do that. You do
Carly,
that.
Carly already knows. She goes see this and be like, Melissa.
She does that. I'm like, I don't know Carly that well, but I've already met her because
Shout out to Carly. She's the OGTT in our house. Carly is our go-to person. Literally, we're so proud of her, and I know she's gonna see this, and I am so proud of you. That's gonna make me cry. I don't want to say anything. Just gonna stop there. I'm really proud of you. But no, because seeing how she has been in all these different positions, and both my mentees, Carly and Nigwa, those girls stay working. Even when they lose a job, they have a job. They have jobs on
Young
jobs.
People are good at that.
They have jobs on jobs. I've never seen either of them stagnant like that. And I don't even have to do too much, but always making sure I'm putting their names in rooms that they're not in yet. I'm gonna talk about both of them till I can't anymore. I'm gonna be like, Carly, Nagwa. Y'all, these girls are amazing. They can do so much. As soon as Hadi said what he said yesterday, I was thinking, they both, I think as a mentor, as someone, that's kind of what you do. You look for opportunities to champion your young people, champion them and elevate them and put them in positions to be great and put them in positions to be celebrated. And because like I said yesterday, I feel like it's such a privilege to be witness to their journey. And I feel so deeply grateful that they chose me to be in their journey. And so,
and keep choosing you.
Yeah, and they keep choosing me. They keep wanting to come over and they keep wanting to hang, and all these things. And I look at that and I think, how can I continue to do my part and make sure that that you are limitless. You can do absolutely anything.
Yeah.
And so I love you both. If you're watching, I love you both. But yeah, it's just that's a big piece for me as adults. How can we, and also on the flip side, don't be bringing these kids around adults that you wouldn't mess with.
Big one, yeah.
Not all people good people. So if you're like, hey, come to this social event, make sure you're strategic about the young, they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And how can we protect them from people who may not have their best interests in mind professionally? Not all jobs are great jobs. Not all jobs are healthy jobs. Helping them. I think that's the other thing, talking to them about what's not an appropriate work environment. If they start sharing something hey, that's not healthy, that's not appropriate. because you're also teaching them to what they should be looking for and what they should be accepting moving forward. And as professionals, we maybe have gone through that in a hard way, but they don't have to go through it in a hard way, you know? So like, hey, they shouldn't be talking to you that way. Or like, hey, they shouldn't say those comments or calling you at that time. Like, whatever. So yeah, those are just some of the things that I think of on that journey is to champion and advocate for and protect.
Excellent. Thank you. Safari, what you thinking about over there when it relates to being communal and being in community with young people?
Yeah, I feel like I'll echo a lot of what Melissa is saying is that, especially speaking from the perspective as I'm an older Gen Z. And so one of the things that I really resonate with is that positive reinforcement. I feel like our generation, we are going through so much with caring about language and like saying that language matters and how you talk to people, how you lift them up definitely is one thing that our generation is trying to teach to our parents, uncles, aunts, people above us. And so, for example, I've kind of let people know, like, I don't do constructive criticism. I want to be coached in a different way. I want to be coached
Way to advocate.
I want to be coached positively. I want to hear what I'm doing well. If there's something that maybe you see that I could improve, let's have a conversation. I think a lot of misconceptions that Gen Z doesn't want to hear any constructive criticism, but I think a lot of times we're tired of hearing like what we didn't do right.
Wow.
And a lot of us are young too, so we haven't been taught these things. A lot of times you're just put into a role and there's no actual guidance to show you how to be a person, how to show up professionally, how to show up socially, how to show up for yourself. So when we talk a lot about giving people acknowledgments for their contributions, I really resonate with that because I feel like we should be doing that more than anything. And then that should also be coupled with, okay, this is what I see you can improve on. But if you maybe give the person continuous shout outs and you have built that relationship, then you can come in and tell them, hey, I see, these are some areas where you may be falling short. These are some areas, like you said, do an inventory and see where you may be spending your time that you don't need to be doing those things. But I feel like it really matters to build a relationship with younger people and let them know that you care first.
Wow.
Once that has been established, they are going to be more receptive. And so that's one of the biggest misconceptions, that we're not receptive to change and that we're not willing to, we're kind of stubborn. But I feel like we view that from older people too. We view, okay, are they stubborn too? Do they not want to change their approach? And so we're kind of at like a standstill. And so something needs to happen. Yeah. And I feel like that is on, especially as an older Gen Z, I feel like it's also on my shoulders too. When I work with younger people, I have to change some of the things because I had been taught wrong. I have to still change my language. I have to find different ways to meet them where they're at. And also I have to change my mindset around young people. A lot of us were taught that young people should be seen, not heard. And that manifests in different ways of how we treat young people. So I feel like if you're doing that work, then you'll be able to actually show up, build that relationship, continue to support, and give that to yourself. That's where it matters first. You should always be focusing on what you have done positive and what you have done that has impacted people in big ways. And so I have a question. Yeah, go ahead.
What's your suggestion of how folks might do that for themselves?
I think it takes a lot of internal work. Yeah. For me personally, it's been an ongoing process of just like, first, I think you need to be aware. Find that awareness. Okay, what are the things that I've done? What are the things that I've been showing up when it comes to like speaking? How do I speak to myself? How was I taught that? So I always say, like, go back to your childhood. How did your inner voice, how did that manifest based on how you were raised, the teachers? You might have had a lot of positive reinforcement, but inner negative self-talk can still manifest. And that is what I'm personally seeing why people speak to younger people that way.
Yeah.
How you were spoken to.
Because their own inner voice is inner. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of us younger people, we recognize that people older than us, they didn't get that type of language. It's very new. And I think a lot of us have compassion for that. But I think we're ready to move forward. We're ready to like lift people up. We're ready to have relationships where we don't need to be hard on each other. We don't need to be calling out things that are wrong, but we can make space for people to grow. We can make space to build people up so that they will want to grow. But if we keep breaking people down, they won't have anything left to build up. And so that's why I kind of focus on that a lot within myself and with the young people that I talk to. They always come to me like, hey, relationship stuff, or for some reason they feel comfortable. And I think it's because I don't come with a judgmental tone, or they can just tell me stuff and I'll be like, okay, here's what I've done, or here's things that I've seen other people do. You may not have all the answers, but sometimes it's just so they just are curious to know, how did you navigate this problem? And so I think just being open and honest and forthcoming with, okay, yeah, some of us don't have it together, but we're figuring it out and we can do that together.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense too, in relation to like suspending the saviorism mindset. Westbrook brought that up because you mentioned you sometimes will tell them how you navigated something, and you do it without judgment. And so if they choose to hear what you said but still choose a different pathway, that's also okay. You share what you had to give, but that doesn't mean they're gonna do what you said or do and take the same steps that you took to solve that issue or resolve that thing. So just saying, like, I am not here to fix, to change, to make better, quote unquote. I'm here to be in a reciprocal relationship with this young person. Both of us are benefiting from this relationship. Both of us are learning and growing through this relationship, instead of like just one generation of people yelling, you're stubborn because you're young, and the other saying, well, you're stubborn because you're old. And then we're just like at this standstill, and there's not the same community. Right.
We're just trying to understand a changing dynamic.
Yes. And just being open to how different people grow and evolve and learn. And I think that's really part of being in it with someone. It's like, I'm not going to abandon you because you did it differently. I'm not going to abandon you because you took a different route. I'm not going to abandon you because I don't like that thing that you're passionate about. Like, I might not get that. You might have to teach me about that thing because it's not a thing that I've done, interest or hobby, but I'm going to be with you. And I would love for you, for a mentor to say, like, I want to learn from you. Like, teach me more about that. Teach me about Nintendo Switch or something. That's something I don't know about that I think
don't know. I would love to
young people know about.
A couple things came to mind. One, shout out to Marissa Hatab and her book, 10 Day to Reconnect with Yourself, because day 4 is all about, did you read it already? Because day 4 is about,
I started reading it. It's really helpful.
About that negative inner dialogue and like negative beliefs about yourself. Is literally everything you just said.
Okay, I'm on page day 3, so I need to get
next day you get to is going to be exactly. And the way I really appreciate, though I'm not going to give it away. Y'all need to buy the book. I'm gonna put in the comments. Give me a minute. I'm about to tag it in the comments. But no, but it's so powerful because it's exactly what you said, is that inner dialogue, those beliefs. And they say that too, like as parents, but you even think as a mentor, like how you speak to your mentee, how you speak to other people, that can become their inner dialogue. And so be really intentional with how you use that. So I love it. And the other thing I was thinking of was sometimes when you're in that position where someone, like, let's say you give advice and they're doing what they're going to do and maybe they keep doing, the one thing I like to do is ask, like, so what's been working, like, to get around this? And if they're like, I don't know, or like, what have we done differently since the last time we talked? And if there's like a radio silence of like, well, what could be done differently to like create a different outcome? Because it goes back to that repeating the same behavior and expecting different results. Like you keep talking to so-and-so and so-and-so be doing this, then you keep talking to them. Like, what makes you think they're not going to keep doing that? Like, what do we need to do differently? But just even, I think too, it puts it in their perspective and not just like, well, I think you shouldn't be doing this. Well, what have you seen as the outcome of this choice?
Help them with that critical thinking to decide this is helping me reach my goal or is keeping me stagnant.
And like, and I think we talked about this at the end too, a safe space for failure, a safe space to come back and like I love how you just said, like, I'm not going to abandon you. if you mess it up, I'm not leaving. If you make a choice, even though it's not instantly, I used to joke, and again, we're going to talk about it for a second. Both my mentees, I wouldn't hear from them when they knew they were doing stuff. They're like, Miss Melissa, not going to want me to do. You know, and I'll be like, hey, y'all, love you. What you doing? And they're like, miss you so much. How's life? Nothing. Because I'm like, okay. But again, that's their space to figure that out. Yeah. They'll come when they have a problem, and they'll call me when they need me. And I'm not going to be like, oh, see, I told you. But I'll be like, that is rough. Like, or how are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, how are you feeling? Because that's a lot. Yeah. You know? Because, it's not about, like, you imparting this great wisdom of, I'm going to fix it. You should have known better. It's you being a safe space for them to experience life and have a person to reflect on life with, you know? So I thought about the things you were saying, and those are just a couple things that came to mind.
It also feels like you said, you don't have to send your representative, like letting that young person know, like you can be a young person and all is glory and joy and also sometimes messiness and confusion and anger. Like, you know, that I can still stand by your side because we have that relationship, and that's where attunement really comes into play as a mentor. It sounds like that's what you were doing with your mentees when they do need that time to resolve something. They're going through something, working through something, or doing what they want to do, and they just don't feel like they want to share in that moment. You being attuned enough to say, like, okay, I see they're being a little bit quiet, but that's okay, because I know we have the strength of relationship that they'll share that with me when they're,
I'm gonna keep following
when they're ready to, but I'm gonna keep following up. You don't have to tell me everything that you're going through, but just know that I'm gonna keep following up and keep showing
they
up.
Stay on do not disturb. I'm like, deliver anyway, buzz. And I'm just like, they'll
are you that person that says
God,
deliver?
I am.
It says deliver loud anyway or something.
It's like deliver anyway, like basically just notifies you regardless, but. Because otherwise I'm going to get a 3 to 5 day business response. Like 3 to 5 days later, oh my God, how did I miss this? Girls, do not disturb. Turn it off. No, I'm just kidding. But still, like that's that part of following. But following up with reason. Like I'm not going to blow you up every day and be like, talk to me. As much as I would love to know.
The consistency of them, you're just letting them know. I'm going
to follow up and be like,
I'm here.
Still haven't heard from you. Like, you alive? I might call me, you alive? Can you at least tell me you're alive?
Just well-being check. Like, you don't have to give me all the details, but just well-being check. Yeah, you still there.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Well, this has been really great. Those are the 4 main components of mentoring mindset: being intentional, being supportive, being developmental, and being communal. So definitely reach out to us for more resources on a mentoring mindset and bring that full training to your school, to your workplace. I just love mentoring mindset. It's so flexible. It can really fit so many different situations. So if that's something you want to think more about, then definitely reach out. We're closing out on our time together here, which feels sad because it's been so fun. But we have a few practical tips we want to leave you with. So I'm going to hand it over to Safari and Melissa to share a couple practical tips each, just things we want to pull out from the conversation before we close out our time here together. So who would like to start?
I'll let you go.
Oh, you want me to start? Yeah. So you go. Oh my gosh. So wait. But essentially, to echo what Safari was saying, you know, be an active listener. Be someone who is not listening with the intention of like, well, this is what I'm going to tell them, and I just need them to stop talking so I can tell them what they need to hear. And you know, like, I remember someone told me a long time ago, it was like I did a class called Clarity, Focus, Action. And it was just all about like really present listening and all kinds of things. And it was all about like, if you're focused on like reading their face, paying attention to their body language, their eyes, their hands, how the emotion is hitting them when they're talking, their inflection, you don't have time to be thinking about what you want to say because you're dedicated to hearing them wholly, holistically hearing them, not just their voice, but you're hearing their emotion, you're hearing their face, you're hearing all of it. And I won't say I do that every time. I'll do my best, but that's the goal, really. Like if it's something I work for, that's what I want to work towards, is to be listening to someone so much so that when they're done, I understand like maybe this doesn't require any response at all. or wow, I should, like, and at the end when it's all over, then you can say like, wow, let's just sit here for a second. Like, let's just be in this for a minute. Like, I really want to support you. Like, what does support look like for you right now? So,
Great question.
Active listening for sure. And just take your ego out of it. Active listening is a lot easier when you're not thinking about like what I have to say is so important. Yeah. At a different time, maybe. Or if they ask you for it, maybe asking them, I have some thoughts. Let me know when you're ready. If you want it, or if you want to hear them. And they'll likely say like, yeah, what are you thinking? What do you got, Safari?
One of my favorites is empower the youth and young people to use their own voice. And I really feel like that can show up in different ways. Showing them how to advocate for themselves. That might be, you might have to advocate for them first to be able to show them. Sometimes you have to state your feelings, state your needs. And I think mirroring that to them can be really helpful in a lot of times. Another way I think is to empower the youth to use their own voice would be just being that, like you said, listening ear. And when a person feels heard, then they feel more empowered to be able to speak up.
Wow.
Yep. Thank you. I'm loving this. Let's keep going. One more each.
Open-ended questions. If you've ever text messaged with a person that's a teenager or younger or even young adult, yes or no is, if you give them a yes or no answer, they're going to give you a yes, like a yes or no question. You're going to get a yes or no answer. Like, hey, how have you been? Good. Okay. And then you start feeling like almost frustrated. Like, well, you don't give me any like feedback. Well, also let's think about what questions we're asking. Hey, like, what's been going really good for you lately? Or is there an area where you feel like you're not getting the support you need? Or like, what's been frustrating you? Do you want to spend some time together? Like, do you want to go for a walk? Like, it's not, so I think the open-ended questions just help create space for the dialogue to go in a lot of different ways. And I think when you create that safety, like you all spoke about earlier, there is that way that they can say, I don't really feel like talking right now. Cool. Great. Well, I'll follow up another time, or just like, I'm here. Love you. Talk to you soon. But that open-ended questions, I think, is just really powerful because you're not in a box of how you're supposed to respond. It's not multiple choice. They can really kind of like decide how they want to share. So that's a big piece as part of that cultivating of community and support is, creating that openness for whatever their response may be, and understanding that their emotions aren't necessarily about you. You don't have to control them. You don't have to confine them. Like, you don't have to have a right answer either. You can just, hey, that is really heavy. Like, I can see why you would feel that way. And then maybe sit there for a second with it. And then, well, I would love to be able to offer some assistance or some support. Like, there's something specific you might need, or what does that look like? So thinking of those things and those conversations and how impactful they were makes a big difference.
Yeah. If you ask great questions, you'll get great responses and more information to continue to build that relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So adding to the network of support really empowers young people. Like Melissa, you shared that your mentor had came up with a whole portfolio for you to be able to share and give to in your professional space. So
absolutely.
I feel like sometimes having that big scope picture, you can be able to make connections for the young person. And something small like that can really be monumental for a young person. If you see something that maybe they're not aware of, showing them how to put together a portfolio, or, doing small things for them that they can take later on and really grow themselves, I think is really big. By connecting them with interests that they have, connecting them with to shadow people, and you as a person who's been working, you might have connections that young person may not be aware of. And so I always tell people to inspire young people to, take a big step and apply for something, put yourself out there. And that's one really big way that I've had a lot of help in, people giving me opportunities, showing me that there's not just, these one size fits all jobs. There are other industries that you can get in. You can open your mindset up to making connections, getting to know people, and putting yourself in those rooms. Like you said, I want to speak people's name, the younger people that I'm mentoring, speak their name in different rooms so people are aware of them, and people are, when they step foot in that door, they're looking forward to meeting them.
Oh.
So I really applaud those type of steps that you're taking and that people here at Mentor Nebraska are making as well.
Shout out to Safari. One thing, and again, as a mentor, your mentor doesn't have to be older than you. You can be mentored by someone younger than you.
Your mentor, yeah.
And one thing I love that Safari does, and I feel like in ways he's mentored us in some things, is he has very eclectic interests, and he doesn't limit himself to one lane. Yeah. And I think as like anybody who interacts with you, to see all the things you allow yourself to dive into is such an inspiration, because often we're like told, you pick this major, you get this job, you do this with your life, you do this, this, and this. And you think, well, what if I want to be creative over here? What if I want to, like you got certificates in marketing, you got, you're going to get your CNA. Like, I'm just, like you got all these like qualities, right? Like he makes like these herbal remedies. Like you all sick, talk to Safari. He's going to get you some elderberry and the spoonful of something. He's going to Mary Poppins the crap out of it, like it's going to be, but that's so true, because and I remember that's something, even the short time we've all had together, I feel mentored by the choices you've made in your life. And because you make those choices, you give those around you in your network, in your area, permission, it feels like, to also make choices like that too, and realize like I could do that if I wanted to. I could take, Karima does it too. Every time Karima talks about taking one of the classes offered, I'm like, man, like that's a really cool thing, to take advantage of these opportunities and to be eclectic that way. And I think that's a really powerful choice that like influences without even meaning to influence. Anyone who's around you can feel like that. And so it's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like it.
I just want to lift that up. I feel that way too. Yeah. I told Safari, I was not joking. I was like, in the revolution, I want Safari on my side. Like he can take something and reverse engineer it and figure out how they made it so that he can then like have ownership over that. And I was like, this is amazing.
No, we would be a dream team. Yeah.
We gonna get it done. Okay? We will survive. Definitely. Well, I just want to say that I really appreciate both of you for this time together. It's been really amazing talking about everyday mentoring and just being in, again, those 4 components of the mentoring mindset and how folks can take those practical tips you all just shared into their everyday life. Yeah, we really hope to inspire you all to really step into that role of being an everyday mentor. Who's a young person that you just come across naturally in your life? Take a moment to think about that and maybe set an intention to just be attuned to that young person the next time you see them. Ask an open-ended question. Find out what they're experiencing. Find out what they're excited about. What is something they're watching or doing or interacting with in media. So, again, we would just love to thank everyone for being a part of this conversation about everyday mentoring. Please continue to celebrate National Mentoring Month with us. Engage. We'll put up all the different ways you can engage with us throughout the month. And again, take those engagements beyond January through the rest of the year and set that as an intention to continue to support the mentoring movement. Lastly, please don't forget to leave feedback for us so we can hear from you all about whether you like to see more things like this from us in the future. Again, this is something new for us. Again, really a lot prompted by Safari, like doing something new, but like we talked about things being a soup and not one person having ownership of idea, but everyone kind of gave their feedback until we got to this opportunity. So yes, please do continue to give us feedback. And again, if you like the format of this thing, maybe this is something that we can
do more.
Do more in the future. I want to give one last opportunity for Safari or Westbrook to share a closing thought.
I'll let you go first.
Okay. One thing that was on my heart was just don't make it about from a mentor perspective, don't make it about trying to teach them something so specific or trying to, like you said, impart specific knowledge. It's more so about building that relationship, getting to know the youth, getting to know what they want to see for their life, and just building them up and supporting all of those goals. A lot of times youth may not see the bigger picture. And so you, as a person who has that experience and that knowledge, you can impart on them the ability to be able to see where they can go in their future. So just be hopeful, be aware, and know that language matters, and how you show up will definitely affect them.
Thanks.
That's really good. Authenticity. You know, I think a lot of times we feel like we have to show up a certain way. I don't know about y'all, but there's times where I'm like, oh, I got to adult hard today. Like, I got to look like an adult, act like an adult when I am an adult. But, you know, I have personality traits that maybe in certain environments are looked at as juvenile or, you know, childish or whatever you want to say, like funny. Or I might do something that's just really unique to me. And I'm a big fan of, like, the more authentic you show up in every space, you give permission for people to show up as themselves as well. So, like, yeah, I'm going to show up and be weird. I'm going to show up and be goofy. I'm going to show up and be unpolished. I'm going to show up and be, you know, sometimes a little haphazard, and I got to do better at that, you know, but like, you know, like, just, I'm going to show up and be me because I want you to be you. Yeah. And the same thing goes for the young people I work with, my mentees, my family, my friends, my coworkers. I never want someone to come in and be like, oh, I don't want her to think, you know, I want them to think this. No, like, just come as you. Like, that's the best thing you can be, is come as you, because that helps us all, like, connect. We connect through transparency, right? So, and that's, as a mentor, just, like, be you and share your interests too. Like, you know, share with them those things, because they're going to connect to you more when they see you being authentic. And even to the point, like, they might be like, man, you so corny. Yeah, you know, I am corny. What about it? You know, like, I love you, Miss Musa, but you corny. Cool, I'm corny. But so that for sure. And then back in that same vein, your presence matters. Just you being there matters. Y'all don't have to be doing something. You don't have to be going to do something crazy. Just being like, hey, let's go take a walk. Hey, let's like, I'm gonna come like watch your track meet. I'm gonna come to this basketball game with me. Or just being sometimes. Like, my 5-year-old wants nothing more than just go where I go. We can go to Target. We can be going to the corner. He doesn't care.
The mailbox.
We'll go to AutoZone, you know. He's like, I'm going to go to AutoZone with you, Mom. Like, you know. And I'm not saying all mentees are like 5-year-olds, but that desire to be in someone's presence or their company, that desire, the comfort and safety someone feels with you, it is a privilege and a blessing that they want to continue to spend time with you, because I promise you, young people will tell you if they don't. They'll show you if they don't. So that's a red flag. Like, if you don't want to spend time with me, what about this environment feels unsafe to them? Right? And so, you know, being yourself, and you know, you nailed it again with the not imparting specific knowledge, because it's not about you. You know, yes, becoming a mentor, like most other things that are good investments, make you feel great. But don't become a mentor just because you want to feel good. Become a mentor because the number one indicator of a child staying in school is a caring adult. Young people are taking their lives at horrific and miraculous rates. Caring adults we need more of. Kids need to know somebody cares that I'm here. We care that you all are here. We care you made the choice to see this today. We care that you're present with us today. We care that you made the choice to stay alive, whatever that may have been. Mental health battles, life battles is so hard. And young people need to know that someone would know if I wasn't here tomorrow. Someone would know if I didn't pick up the phone.
And would care.
Yeah, they care. And let that be the motivation, is how can I be a caring adult? Because people have a lot to say about generations. They have a lot to say about kids, choices kids are making on TikTok, in the streets, and the whatever. Okay, you have all these feelings, right? Then one of the number one things you can do is be a caring adult for somebody.
Show up.
You know, show up. Exactly. Show up for somebody.
it's hard to be an adult, but it's also hard to be a kid.
Oh, it's so hard to be a kid.
I've been both, and I can attest that. I necessarily wouldn't pick one over the other. I'm just living life.
Listen, I don't feel like an adult to this day. Some
I've been
days,
in both situations.
Some
So I
days I'm
resonate
like-
with both sides.
you ever wake up and be like, am I really the grown up now? Like, I'm it. Like, I'm the grown up now. Like, I
Yep.
told my mom, I'm like, I never feel like an adult. And I'm 35. Like, can someone make me not an adult? I'm done with the trial period.
It's tough. It's tough. Just being there for one another, I think, is what I'm taking from this, and the intention I want to set for the rest of the month and throughout the year is to slow down and really, like, people say it as a joke, but like, the present is my presence. Like,
Yes.
I'm not coming with a handful of goods. I'm just like, I want to be in space with you.
We value your presence.
Yeah, I want to be in space with my people and be present in those moments. That's what I'm taking from you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have any words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about words of wisdom. I think you all gave us so much to think about and chew on. I do like what you said about if you're really in it, if you're in the moment, then your brain can't simultaneously be running through everything else in the background. Like, did I get the groceries? And, all the things that come up as an adult, all the adulting things.
Yeah.
If that list is running in the background while you're talking to someone, you're not being fully present.
For sure.
And so, yeah, I want to do better to, again, slow down, to suspend those things and just be in space with people and let the people that I care about make sure they know it.
Be where your feet are.
Yeah.
I love that.
Be grounded.
Be grounded. Yeah. Thank you, Safari. Be grounded.
I would love to hear in the chat too, like ways y'all stay grounded, ways y'all stay in the moment. What are ways maybe you do active listening, or really any of the things we just mentioned, whether it's like open-ended questions, increasing, I'm going to knock this microphone into some other level, like expanding someone's network, all the stuff that we just brought up. Like, I would love to hear if someone did that for you, or you have a specific way that you do it and you're like, this is the way I stay grounded in that space. This is the way I stay listening. Yeah, because it matters. I want to hear it too. It's also new ideas. I selfishly want to steal your ideas too. Like 100% want to learn from what you're telling me.
Yeah, sharing information.
Yes,
For
all
sure.
the way.
Well, thank you so much. We'll continue to engage in the chat for the next few minutes. But again, please fill out the feedback survey and stay tuned with us for more updates as we continue in National Mentoring Month. And you can find out more information at mentornebraska.org. Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.
Bye, y'all. I love it.
Done.
We're
Thank
done.
you.